Welcome back, learners. So now let's move on to the next topic. So we had discussed about infix functions in the previous session. Hope you don't have much doubts in it and you had tried creating some operators of your own and worked on it. Fine. So now let's move on to the next topic. So we call it as return values. So we had seen that a function returns some value. Fine. So even when we created infix function, we saw that it was returning one value, right? So we have some return values in a function. So when you create a function, whatever output you get, that has to be returned back. That we call it as return values. So in return values of functions, you have two kinds of return values. One we call it as implicit value, implicitly returning the value, or it is explicit return. Fine. So two kinds we have, implicit and explicit. So let's see what are these return values, that is implicit return and explicit return. Now for example, consider our same infix function which we created in the previous session. Maybe now I say I am going to create one infix function which is using this hash operator. Fine. And I say here function of, and I say x comma y, and what I want to do with this, suppose I say I want to just go for finding the summation of it or whatever it is. Fine. Maybe now let us try it out with simple multiplication. Okay, instead of x into y, suppose I say y into x. Anyway, it is going to be the same. Or let's try out with something else. So shall we try the division part? So now I say divide by, no, let's just go with the power itself. So whatever we discussed in the previous one. Fine. So now just go with this. Now I have created this one. So this operator I have created. So now what I have done here, I had just created a function. So this is the name of the function, this operator, these are the arguments, and this is my body. So the body by itself, it is going to return something. Yes. So now here I have not specifically said something has to be returned, but when I say here the operator directly hash, and I say this operator to, fine, see, it is returning you some value. So this value is being returned, but we have not specified anywhere that you have to return a value. So this kind of automatic return, so we call it as implicit return. We don't use a specific return statement or anything for that. Fine. Suppose now this is implicit return. Now if you want to explicitly return it, so how do I do? The same function, let me rewrite with explicit return function, return argument, sorry, return value. Fine. So now I say here this one is going to be, instead of this, when I write it like this, it is implicit return. So I have a statement which I call it as return. So we had seen this return statement in video session as well. So now I say return x power y, and I close my function. So now let's go for executing the same thing. So you are getting the same thing. Okay. So when I go for using this return statement, I call it as explicitly returning. So I am saying return this. In some cases the last, so what is this implicit statement? So implicit return, the last evaluated value will be returned. So that is implicit return. Fine. So in this case only one is being evaluated. So that statement, whatever was the value, that is being returned. So that is implicit return. So this is in case of your infix operators. Similarly, we can try out with maybe our function. Now suppose I say I want to create a vector instead of operator. I am creating one user defined function. So a create vector, and I say x comma y comma z comma w or something, and I again open a brace. Fine. Now I say c of vector, right? So I say c of, so let me go for an explicit return. So in that case, now I can say vector is equal to c of x comma y comma z comma w, and I say return of vector, so vec, and I close my brace. Fine. Yes. So now let us try executing it. So I say create underscore vector of, okay, create underscore vector of, and I say 2l, and I say 3l, and I say 4L and I say 5L. See, now it is returning this vector. Okay, so this is explicit return. Suppose I want to rewrite this as implicit return. So let us check whether the last statement, whichever I am writing, is going to be returning it or not. Fine. So I say x comma y comma z comma w, the same function. I am rewriting it. I am just saying here c of x comma y comma z comma w, and I close it and I execute the same thing. See, it is returning. Fine. So this is implicit return and this is explicit return. So in any kind of functions you can go with this implicit or explicit return. If you don't go for explicit return, whatever was the final evaluated expression value, that will be returned there. Okay, yes, fine. So you can try out returning some values using this implicit or explicit and check out. If you still have any doubts, you can very well contact me. Thank you.